Please welcome him to the stage.
Hello everyone. My name is Toni Halme. I'm the head of business line for B2B in Ikano Bank, Finland. And someone over the lunch said or told me that my biggest enemy for this speech and the biggest obstacle is actually the hockey game that is on. So I just want to be perfectly clear here. If Finland scores, it's okay to interrupt me. Okay, so is ownership obsolete? After a very careful selection, we chose to took this picture as a starting slide. And why is that? First of all, it's very timely. I mean, there is a tractor cultivating land. And that is exactly what is happening right now in the countryside. But also land is considered as the ultimate foundation of ownership. And land is something that you really want to own because they don't make land anymore. But did you know that in fact, 1/3 of the all cultivated land in Finland is rented? Here's the agenda for today. I'm going to say a few words about Ikano, a company that I'm representing here. Then we're going to say a few words about sharing instead of owning. And we need to ask ourselves, is the ownership itself here to stay or here to go? Few facts about Ikano. We have the same roots than IKEA. Basically, Ingvar Kamprad established IKEA in Älmhult 1943, and that was also the starting point of Ikano. Ikano is a kind of a company that was everything except the core business of IKEA. And Ikano was established in 1988, and Ingvar kind of put all the other businesses into one place and started a new company. We have about 4,500 employees in 15 different countries. We are present in 3 different continents, Europe, Asia, North America, now we're in Mexico, and we have 5 different business areas, out of which banking is one. There's also insurance, real estate, retail Asia for IKEA, and also industry. And we've been in Finland since 2004. We started as a consumer financing bank, and then we established also B2B financing in 2014. And there is about 20 people in our office in Espoo, and about 1,000 people or 1,000 employees all over the world. And now the slides jammed. Thank you very much. Here it goes. Okay, so is the ownership here to stay or here to go? Back in the glory days, or actually not that far away or not so long ago, the ownership was something that you really wanted to have, or you wanted to gain as much as money as possible, or have as much as physical items as possible. And that showed that how wealthy you are, how important you are, and how powerful you are, and probably also how interesting you are in the eyes of the others. But that is something that is really changing at the moment. And I don't think that, especially for the younger generation, the ownership is not so important anymore. I mean, they don't need to own stuff. And that's where the sharing economy comes into picture. I mean, okay, we've been renting flats and apartments for ages. Car leasing is also very common. It's nothing new. But there's now these players like Airbnb and Uber who are changing this whole setup totally. Same goes with laptops, bicycles. I heard yesterday that now we are even sharing boats, which is actually a good thing. Share the cost as well. And now you don't even need to buy music anymore. When I was a kid, I used to save my money for these C cassettes. I mean, does anyone remember those C cassettes? And after C cassettes, there were CDs. We even bought like these CD racks where we could store the collection. We had physical items. Then came along MP3s. We didn't have the physical items anymore, but you bought the music. And then what happened? Spotify came. Excellent, excellent service. You have basically access to all the music in the world with fixed monthly fee. Now, why didn't we have this when I was young? Basically, owning stuff is not important anymore. You don't need to own stuff. You just pay it when you use it. And if you own it, you can share it and earn some money on the side. So I'm a leasing guy. That's why I'm going to use leasing as an example why ownership is no longer necessary. Let's take, for example, mobile devices or mobile phones. If you're a company or a corporate, you don't really need to own your mobile phones anymore. And if you buy a mobile device today, keep it for 3 years, and it will become an ancient history after 3 years. It's obsolete. Same goes with laptops. If you want to start a gym, you need to invest hundreds of thousands of euros in equipment in order to operate or run a gym. It's a huge investment, huge amount of money. But you don't need to do that. You will take a financing, and you just pay monthly fees to the bank or financier. Same goes with trucks, excavators, or whatever type of assets, physical, movable assets. You don't need to put your money down for physical things anymore. You can save them. Maybe you want to hire a new person, new employee. Maybe you want to buy a competitor out of the market. Maybe you want to move into better premises. Or maybe you just want to save it for the rainy days. So is there anything that company needs to own anymore? Or can everything be leased, shared, or rented? In my mind, there is at least 3 elements that every company should still own. And what are those? Philosophy. You need to have company philosophy. It's a theory or attitude that acts as a guiding principle for behavior. Yes, you need to have a philosophy what makes you good. Let's take an example out of a football world. Let's say that you're a football manager in a Premier League or somewhere. You need to have some sort of idea about how the game is played. And you need to have some kind of an idea that what is your winning strategy. How do you make the best out of this team? Maybe you want to emphasize a good defense, I don't know. Or maybe you want to control the midfield and have the control in the ball and have the control in the rhythm of the game. Or maybe you want to, I don't know, rely on counterattacks and have fast wingers who are scoring goals and, I don't know, like Liverpool is doing. But you need to have an idea that what makes you good and what makes you unbeatable. And that's the same thing with companies. You need to have an idea how you can gain market share, or how you can be profitable, or how you can earn more sales. You need to have a philosophy. Now, companies need to do what they're meant to be done, and employees need to do what they are good at. And some might say that, yeah, that's basically staying in the comfort zone, and it's true. You need to stay in your comfort zone as well. Of course, sometimes you need to step out of it, learn something new things, and gain some new progress. But I don't really think that persons or companies can really prosper if they're constantly out of their comfort zone. So that's why it's very important to be true to your philosophy. Because when you lose your philosophy, you're not true to yourself anymore. And when you lose your philosophy, you will lose your game plan. And when you lose your game plan, it's not controlled anymore. Everything becomes more or less arbitrary. It's just random events, and you have no effect to those. Second element, culture. Here's a direct quote from Ingvar Kamprad. The competitors can copy every part and every aspect of your business, but not the company spirit. This is what differentiates one company from another. That's well said. Culture is something that every single person in your organization participates building it. but it only, unfortunately, only one person can ruin the whole show. And culture is basically a sum of all the aspects that influence or affects in your everyday life. And that's why it's so hard to copy, or even impossible to copy it from another company. But culture can also be seen as an asset. If you have a very good company culture, it will help you recruit more people, for example. People want to work in your company because it has a good company culture. And it's, of course, it's a matter of reputation. A good company culture can become a brand factor for you. And third element, values. Here are the Ikano Bank's values. The main driver is that whatever we do it on fair terms. We use common sense and simplicity, yes. Banking is a very complex thing, and we don't want to make it even more complex. And working together, not only internally in our organization, but also with the customers and with the partners, and daring to be different. You need to do something differently than the others. And I've been preaching about these values before here, and I think it's very important that you have values. You need to have company values, but what is even more important is that you live up to your values. You need to own your values. You need to have your values. Whenever you're making a decision, big or small, you need to ask yourself whether this is according to our values. If it's not, then skip it. Don't do it. If you live up to your values, they will guide your everyday life, and you will be a successful organization. So, what I'm really heading at here is that the stuff that used to make you powerful, used to make you wealthy, used to make you important and interesting in the eyes of the other, those are the things that you don't need to really own anymore. And now, paradoxically, those things that you didn't even consider to be an asset will become the most important possession that the company has. So, back to my question, is ownership obsolete? To some extent, yes. But there is still these three key elements that every company should own. Thank you, everybody.